I think the regulators and the mainstream media are doing a great job of orange pilling Bitcoin investors. This is maybe the first and greatest asset class, since the creation of the S&P 500. This is the biggest thing for them. And they are realizing that, and that's what's happening in front of your face. It's not pretty, but this is the way that Bitcoin rises above the noise and establishes its dominance as the world's greatest crypto asset network. I think that if you get people to acknowledge that Bitcoin is an asset with a period, then Bitcoin 10x's from here. Like, we don't really have to conclude anything else.
Today we are joined by Michael Saylor, who shares his upcoming prediction for Bitcoin and why he's bullish in 2024. The upcoming Bitcoin halving event set for April and the impending approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF by the US Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC is actively reviewing multiple applications for this ETF. Thanks to BlackRock's significant influence, there's an increasingly strong belief that, in the not-too-distant future, we'll witness the approval of at least one Bitcoin spot ETF. This would mark an historic milestone for the Bitcoin community, a moment many have been eagerly awaiting for well over a decade. The green light for such an ETF would carry profound implications for the world of cryptocurrency and would serve as the gateway to substantial institutional investments, drawing interest from sovereign wealth funds, major corporations, and even governments. Saylor envisions that this development will pave the way for large corporations to incorporate cryptocurrencies into their balance sheets. Let's get right into the latest interview with Michael Saylor and why Bitcoin is poised to revolutionize cryptocurrency heading into 2024. Don't forget to share your thoughts and comments down below, and leave a like if you enjoy the content we do here.
As the regulators differentiate between Bitcoin and everything else, right, as they hammer over and over and over again, Bitcoin is an asset without an issuer, it is unique. As that happens, right, the significance of Bitcoin being that green ticker in the lower right corner of a CNBC, television episode or newscast, or Bitcoin being at the top of the masthead of the Wall Street Journal every day, right? That's sending a message to the world. This is the world's global monetary index. In fact, this is the greatest of the world's global monetary indexes. And I think Bitcoin has successfully morphed from being speculative, scary, digital asset to legitimate monetary index, legitimate monetary asset everywhere in the world. And I think that if you get people to acknowledge that Bitcoin is an asset with a period, then Bitcoin 10x's from here. Like, we don't really have to conclude anything else. I have my hierarchy of investors. It's like a 5-part hierarchy. Okay, here are Bitcoin investors. There's the Bitcoin denier, like the Peter Schiff. Bitcoin is tulips. It doesn't exist. It's a scam, right? The Bitcoin deniers have actually been discredited, right? They've got no credibility left. When the head of the CFTC, the SEC, the White House, Congress, Senate, the Treasury, the head of the central banks of Europe and the United States, when the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, when CNBC, when they all acknowledge Bitcoin as an asset, the deniers just look silly. So the deniers have kind of been silenced. Now you've got the skeptics. Skeptics are those that say, oh, Bitcoin, it's an asset. It may be digital gold. It's too good to be true. So the government will ban it. Like, follow me that again. It's really good. It's so good that the government's going to ban it. That's the skeptic, right? They're not denying. They're just saying, well, someone's going to take it away from you. Okay, well, that was a very loud refrain 3 years ago. And you heard that from bankers and from big investors. You've even heard it 2 years ago and 1 year ago. But if you're reading the 10,000 pages of lawsuits right now, and if you're looking what's going on in Congress and the Senate, it's pretty obvious they're not taking it away from you guys, right? At the end of the day, the one thing that the regulators everywhere in the world are trying to tell you is if you operate a crypto exchange, you can sell and buy Bitcoin. That's what they're trying to tell you. Bitcoin is good, it's ethical, it's an asset without an issuer, it's real, it's an innovation. We don't know what we think of it, but it is tangible. So the skeptics are actually proven wrong as well. And now we move to the last three categories. The investor, the technocrat, and the maximalist.
The ongoing adoption of Bitcoin by governments, institutions, and media signifies a broader recognition of its value. However, Saylor asserts this journey is just beginning, comparing the initial years to the current widespread interest and investment, with a giant spotlight on Bitcoin ETFs. Saylor highlights this being a significant development in the financial ecosystem. He also suggests that BlackRock, under the guidance of Larry Fink, will lead the charge in obtaining regulatory approval for a Bitcoin ETF. This move, he contends, will underscore Bitcoin's enduring relevance as an asset and its potential as a hedge against currency devaluation.
Investors are people that say, Bitcoin's a digital asset. I think maybe I'll buy some, maybe I'll short it. It's correlated to the NASDAQ. No, it's uncorrelated to the NASDAQ. No, it's negatively correlated to the NASDAQ. They're like traders, they change their mind, but if they acknowledge that it's something, then they need 1% of it. Okay, we're actually seeing a migration, and a lot of people are coming on board as investors and traders, and that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. Yeah, we like investors. The technocrat is what I was with regard to Apple in 2009. If you'd asked me, I said, Apple's going to be a digital monopoly, a mobile monopoly. They're going to crush everybody. They're going to get 1 billion users. They're going to make huge amounts of money. The stock's going to go up by a factor of 10. Okay, if you believe that Microsoft is going to own the business software market and Google's going to own the search market and Apple's going to own the mobile market, then you're a technocrat, a techno investor. And pretty much every obscenely rich person that you know in this world was a technocrat. You know, the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Larry Pages, the Sergey Brins, the Steve Jobs, all of them, the Jeff Bezos of the world, they're technocrats, right? A lot of people made a lot of money being a technocrat. And so if you believe in if you understand Bitcoin and you're a technocrat, what you say is, Bitcoin is the world's dominant digital monetary network. That's what Cathie Wood just said on CNBC just today to Andrew Ross Sorkin. She said, hey, it's the world's greatest global monetary network and it's going to go to $600,000 to $1 million a coin. That's our base case. Technocrat. And then she went on to say, yeah, we like Tesla. We like technology, right? That's okay. Those people are great. Warren Buffett eventually bought Apple Computer. Carl Icahn eventually bought Apple Computer, right? Those people, once they buy, they'll hold. I started out as a technocrat, and I think anybody that understands technology says, well, it's 95% of the proof of work in the world, maybe more. It's absolutely dominant. The next closest thing is 1%. So it doesn't take a stretch to say, Bitcoin is the digital monetary network destined to provide a digital monetary network to billions and billions and billions of people in the next 1 to 2 decades. And on that basis, it should go up by a factor of 100. And we're winning those people. We're going to get them. But the last type of investor is the maximalist. Okay, and here's my definition of maximalist. Jack Dorsey said, Bitcoin is an instrument of economic empowerment. I heard those words. They stuck with me my entire life. When I first bought Bitcoin, I said, it's the world's greatest digital gold network. It's going to be better than Apple Computer. But when I heard Jack Dorsey speak, I said, Bitcoin is an instrument of empowerment for 8 billion people. It's an ethical good. It's a utilitarian entitlement to all 8 billion people in the world. It gives property rights, it gives freedom, it gives a hope of sovereignty. That's a little bit better than the value proposition of Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft, which I like. If you believe that Bitcoin is an instrument of empowerment, then you're a maximalist, right? People don't, when I owned Apple stock, I didn't think it was going to cure half of the ills in the world and provide property rights to everybody in China or Africa. I just thought it was a really good investment with a technology lever, so much leverage it was unstoppable. I said it's unstoppable. Like Amazon's unstoppable, like Google's unstoppable, like Bitcoin is unstoppable. However, the difference with Bitcoin is it's not just unstoppable, right? It's inevitable and it's ethical. And so for that reason, I think it's the most important thing I've ever done. And you don't have to be disinvested from everything else in your life. You can own a building, own Apple stock. You can believe in supporting your local mayor. You can actually own farmland in Kansas, and you can actually mine for silver, or you can run a natural gas well, and you can still be a Bitcoin maximalist. Right? What differentiates Bitcoin maximalists is say, this is not just an unstoppable digital network. This is an ethical imperative. And if you believe it's an ethically good thing, then you become as passionate as Jack Dorsey is, as everybody in this room is, right, as I am. And I think that ultimately is what differentiates the decision to support Bitcoin from the decision to support gold or natural gas or oil or any given corporate stock or invest in a building. Those are just mercenary investments, but this is a mission. People are losing confidence in technology investments and in stock and equity investments right now. If you look at the performance of the S&P and the NASDAQ and most conventional companies, they've hit a wall. And so investors in the equity market are scratching their head and they're increasingly fearful. They've got high interest rates, they've got inflation, they've got regulation, they've got trade barriers. So they're looking around. The commercial real estate market took off in 2020 because interest rates went to zero, and so the cap rates of these companies were extraordinary, and the multiples on commercial real estate were extreme. And there's always like a 3-year lag. Like you and me, we sit around our pool in March of 2020 and we go, oh my, these commercial office buildings are going to be empty. Who's going to want this space? Well, it takes 3 years for people to go, wow, commercial occupancies are low. Who wants the space? So sometimes you don't really want to know 3 years in advance, or at least you got to think about it. But I think investors are getting disenchanted with real estate. They're getting disenchanted with equity. They're getting concerned. I mean, the entire commodity thing is a concern. Commodities don't work, and they're realizing that that's a challenge.
Saylor challenges the conventional macroeconomic metrics, asserting that these metrics are often manipulated to paint a specific narrative, like labor statistics and inflation figures, which are selectively measured to create desired effects rather than reflecting the true state of the economy. In this context, Bitcoin emerges as an alternative, detached from the manipulations of the conventional economic sphere. Saylor also highlights that established corporations like Apple, Amazon, and Google will use their established relationships acquired over decades to swiftly acquire substantial amounts of Bitcoin through a spot ETF, bypassing the cumbersome processes involved in procuring the actual commodity. This disparity underscores the transformative power of cryptocurrencies in traditional financial institutions. Michael Saylor underscores the importance of embracing digital currencies as the economic landscape is changing rapidly, and urges investors to leverage Bitcoin's potential to secure a more prosperous financial future. What do you think about the latest interview with Michael Saylor? And how do you think Bitcoin's trajectory in the coming months will impact the crypto market and the world of investing? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content just like this. We'll see you in the next video.